Hi, Bookaholics. This is Deirdre Pippins, and I'm bringing you another installment in my mental health awareness series. The month of May is Mental Health Month, and I wanted to bring conversations to you that surrounded the subject of mental health. Everyone that I'm bringing to you has worked their way through trauma, abuse, and mental illness. Today's guest is Kimberly Bell, and she survived watching her parents in a domestic abusive relationship. She also survived abandonment as well as sexual assault from a pedophile. We'll be discussing her journey and her book, which is called The Epitome of Kimmy: Accept and Embrace It All. Please welcome my guest today, Kimberly Bell, after this. Okay, everyone, as we said before, this interview is part of my mental health series for May. And each and every person that I interview has written a book about their story of how they have come through trauma and other seemingly unsurmountable situations. And so today we're talking to Kimberly Ann Bell. And so, Kimberly, you and I had a pre-call,
Mhm.
and I've heard you also on other podcasts while I
Mm.
was doing my research on you. You seem like a very happy person. You're a very happy person. You seem like you have a great sense of humor. But when you read your memoir book jacket, you have every right to be angry, bitter, but you somehow made it to the other side, thank goodness. So tell us, for the listeners, what's your state of mind today?
Well, my state of mind is today working the process of healing and overcoming and accepting and embracing, as I put in the book, all the things that um, I had went through and experienced through my journeys thus far. Yeah.
Right. But you're healing and you're on that journey. So let's talk about how you got to this more peaceful type of place. We're going to start with identifying your trauma.
Mhm.
And if I'm correct, your trauma encapsulated abandonment,
Mhm.
sexual and physical abuse,
Mhm.
pedophilia in that, and domestic violence.
Mhm.
So tell us your story.
So, um, from the very beginning, from the abandonment and rejection, I was, given away
Hmm.
by both parents, and it wasn't like it was at a age that it was an infant or a newborn or a toddler.
Okay.
I had stayed with them up until I was 5, and
Okay.
I had lived with them and my older sister, and adapted to chaoticness, physical abuse between my dad and my mom. Um, I knew that my father and my sister loved me because they their actions showed, but it was different with my biological mother. It was
Hmm.
always, from the time that I can remember, me yearning for her to hold me in a sensitive manner, that it
Hmm.
felt wanted. It felt that she wanted me there. She needed me there. She loved me. And it never
Hmm.
happened. And so there was a traumatic experience, one of the worst fights ever, um, at that age, around that age. And my sister and I witnessed. And that led into my biological father separating from my mother for whatever short time that was, because they
Hmm.
continued to have children together, and then eventually they got divorced. But at that particular event, they separated, and he dropped me off to my biological aunt, which was my paternal aunt, which was his sister, his oldest sister. And
Okay.
he said that he would return, and that's where I was going to stay, and that never happened.
Wow. Okay. So let me get this all straight. So you did live with a mom and dad,
Yes.
and you had siblings. Now, you felt you were loved by your dad and your sister, but your mother was not affectionate. She was
At all.
disconnected. Was she disconnected from the entire family?
No, just for me.
Just from you. Now, her disconnection was were either of them on drugs or anything like that? Was there
No,
something a source of the disconnection?
no, not as far as I was aware of. Later down the line, they were very spiritual. They were very religious, and later down my journey of my life with my adopted parents, I had I had heard different stories, and one of them was that she was religious, and both of them was in church real heavy, and the Holy Spirit told her that I was supposed to have been a boy, and with that concept in her mind, when I came, see, I was right after my sister, 2 years
Right.
younger than my sister. I was a girl, and she disconnected right then, as if something had happened where she had missed this voice from the Holy Spirit that confirmed to her that I was going to be a boy, which would have been my dad's first, male child, first son by her. And
Right.
it was so bad that from the story that I was told from my adopted mother, my biological father did everything that he could to kind of pull her out of it, out of this
Yeah.
depression. And it was so overwhelming that he called his sister, the one that I ended up getting dropped off, and said, "We don't have a name for her. Something's wrong with her. Can you come here?" And so this is how my story was told to me, that Kimberly was named from my adopted mom and my biological father at the time, because my biological mom was such in a distraught. And actually, it's kind of funny because she said they interrupted my stories, and she said it was Kim Hughes that she had her mind on. And so when she seen this baby, brown and sweet, and just she said it's just, you just had this sweetness about you. And she said
Right.
Kim Hughes popped in her mind, and she said, "What about Kim?" And said he was like, "Kim, yeah, yeah, yeah." So,
Right. Wow.
but that disconnection just stemmed over. Um, I never felt. And then I was growing up, trying trying to do my best to yearn and to do everything that I can to feel that love. That never
Right.
happened. Yeah.
Right.
Could I
Right.
could I be more quieter? I remember laughing and cutting off my laugh, or playing with my sister and stopping soon as I seen her turn around and look at me sharp, you know. Uh,
Right.
wouldn't ask for seconds, wouldn't
Wow.
ask for something to eat, wouldn't ask to go to the bathroom.
Oh my
I
gosh.
would not go, I would not ask for when I got adopted, I had even had my bladder trained, because
Oh,
I was trying to do everything that I could
to
to not
please her.
get in trouble. Yes, to please her and to get some type of
Right.
affection that was sensitive, that was loving, that I got from my dad coming in and out. He would come. I remember he would come in and just throw me up and pick me up, and you know how dads
Right.
play with their kids and everything,
Right.
or
Right.
get on the floor and play with me and my sister, and I would see her with this look, and it's so crazy, Deidre, because I remember this woman as I'm growing up, thinking that she was the most beautiful woman in the world, but why was she so mean? Like,
Oh my
what could I
goodness.
do to
Right.
for her not to be so mean or
Right.
angry or mad at me?
Right. 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 Well, so don't did anybody ever tell you that possibly, maybe, or it seems like your mother was experiencing mental illness?
Yeah, yeah, down the road. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
most
an
definitely.
adult then, and then even as I got into school, and doing my own thing for as college and stuff like that, not the acceptance of my biological mother, but trying to trying to get terms or get some type of understanding
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
of the
And
disconnection. And
right.
then yeah, it would come in my mind like, and then I was asking, I was really close to one of her sisters, and I asked, started asking questions about their upbringing, you know
Right.
was she mistreated, and
Right.
stuff like that.
Exactly. Now, so your parents had this huge, huge, huge fight,
Yeah.
and therefore they subsequently got divorced, but your father dropped you off at his sister's house and you never saw your father again.
No, I did. I
You
did.
did.
Yeah,
Okay.
because that was his
But
older sister. That was his
you,
older sister, and he always continued to have connection with her in
oh,
and out periodically. Now,
okay.
it got to a point that he was asked not to come back if he was going to keep promising me broken promises that he was going to come and get me, and I was going to go and stay with him because I would get packed and sit on the step and wait for him, and he never showed up. So it
Right.
was told to him to stop that, and then periodically, then the length of time expanded a little longer after that talk, I remember. And then he came back in and out periodically talking about his new family.
Yeah, I
um
was going to get to that, but he had a new fan. Yeah, see, so he dropped you off. He disconnected himself from the old family, so to
mhm,
speak,
mhm.
because he had loyalty and dedication to a new family. I assume a new wife, new children, and are
New
your
career.
parents?
He went
Go
into the
ahead.
ministry, new career. He went into the ministry. He was a pastor. And so my biological, well, my adopted mom, his sister, was knowing all this. She was in the loop of all this progress of his life. And I'm looking at, has somebody got amnesia? Nobody talked to me about me staying with them or choosing to stay with them or being raised with them. And this is just how it's going to be.
Right, right.
And did something along the way was told without me that he's getting up all his rights and even his identity of ever being my father, because that's how it seemed.
Wow, wow. I'm having a little bit of an issue that and I'm a religious person, that then he goes on to be a preacher, but he's doing totally unpreacher like things. And your mother was totally absorbed by religion, but totally doing unreligious and unchristian type of things. So I have an issue with that. But when mental illness is present, or when you're trying to escape a situation yourself, such as I'm figuring with your father, I mean, but that certainly gives Christianity or religion a bad name when you have
Right.
these type of actions. So I digress. Let me go back to you and your story and not my opinion. Um, so you're with your aunt, your biological aunt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where
And
does your
her,
story go on from there? Do you continue to live with your aunt family, or do you get shuttled off to foster homes and or become adopted by somebody totally other than your family?
I continued. I continued.
You
Yeah, I
continue to live with
continued.
your family.
Yeah, all the way until I was eight, about close to 18 before I moved
Oh,
out.
okay, okay. So you thank
And
goodness you
was introduced to their extended family, and yeah.
right, right, right. And so did your aunt who took over the role as your mother, how was it living with them? Were they affectionate? Was she married with her own children, or was she a single mom, or how did all that go?
Now she was married,
Okay.
and they that both of them, that was their second marriage, and he was quite older than her, but he had older children, but none of them
Okay.
was there. I was their child that was there, and she couldn't have any children, so
Um,
she had let me know, years when I was able, to understand that she had
right,
miscarried and couldn't have any children, and
right,
her brother knew that, and so
right.
she told me, she said to him, numerous times, I can raise her, I want her, If Ellen
Yes.
doesn't, if her mother doesn't want her, I want her.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the the foundation was secure. I can say that
Right.
that was stable.
Right.
I never seen lights off. They didn't live off of
Right.
government assistance. They were like
Right.
team players. We had a garden,
Mm.
but mind you, I'm still mentally going through the rejection and abandonment. Um,
Yes.
I was more like to her a replacement of a child that she lost, that she
Yes.
wanted to come and just overwhelm with love and take
Yes.
and say, I'm now your mom. And I'm
Right.
saying, no, yeah, my mom, my mom my mom need to come back and get me.
Right, right. I got you. I totally am listening and hearing what you're saying. Definitely. So there's a lot of factors going on here.
And
And
then those, that I'm in the 70s, so I'm telling my age. So back
mhm,
then, the generational gap, and even in the 70s, so many things wasn't like PTSD wasn't, and they were
right,
so religious. I'm going from one religious uh, uh, arena to another religious
yeah,
arena, because
yeah,
they were deep into AME Zion. They were deep
yeah,
into that denomination where that was
right,
structured. I
right,
was raised in the church that they had been members of for years, and it was just like I said, it was very different, but it was an eye opener for me to understand. They weren't trained, they wasn't educated, they didn't have the resources. Like,
right,
there are so many resources now for kinship and for adoption agencies, even for biological parents, to
yes,
for resources and education of how to get the treatment and the help that
right,
everyone needs. So I remember in my educational years, my first educator, she suggested just once about them getting me to see someone to talk to,
yes,
and and they simply shut it down. They said prayer changes things.
yes, yes. So there was no therapy for you.
No,
Not
no, no.
at that time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, I know exactly where you're coming from with this. Now let me go back. What happened to your sister?
She stayed with my mother.
She stayed with your mother.
Hmm.
And and even
And they
though this
had other kids,
she stayed with her mother and what?
and they had other children.
And they had, meaning your biological father at the time.
Hmm. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, oh wow. Really? So how many siblings do you have? Really
I have
technically?
4 by my biological father. It's
Okay.
it's it's 4 of us, including me. It was my oldest sister, then it's me, and then
Okay.
it was my 2 brothers, and then it was my sister. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So she
Now,
did get a boy after me.
but you were the only one that
Hmm.
she just seemed to have a mental break on, correct?
Correct.
Now, how did those other siblings live? Did they experience any abuse or anything, or did they just go on to be a happy family?
Well, from my understanding, my oldest sister said after their divorce and after my biological father was completely out of their life,
Right,
I really got saved from her other toxic relationships, because she has one other child. She has a total of 5 that was by another um, male. That's
right,
that's my stepsister, but we don't call
right,
so she said, my oldest sister said it was a lot. It was a lot of traveling. It was a lot of mental, where she was a single mother, and I guess doing the best she can with the brokenness, with the pain, with with whatever all baggage she was carrying. Yeah.
right, right. Oh my. Okay, so I don't want to cause you any undue pain, but where did the sexual abuse come in?
Okay, so that came in. Deidre, in my adopted parents' home.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no! And I thought when you got with your biological aunt and in her home, everything would be
Yeah.
cool, except for the fact that you wanted really to still have the love of your mother.
Yeah.
So
I would thought so too.
yeah. So I mean, who was at fault for that? The aunt or your uncle?
It wasn't intentionally on neither one of them's part because but it happened. I had started to get adjusted, just like you said. I started to get adjusted,
Mhm.
um, massing the pain of my biological father coming in and out, checking in,
Yes. Yes.
and treating me as I was a niece,
Right.
not a daughter. So I
Right.
started adjusting. I just started, my silent cry. Just started just keeping things in and saying, "Hey, maybe this is my life. Maybe this is what I deserve." And
Mm.
so as I started adjusting, as I was saying, with them so heavy in church, I was introduced to their extended family. So
Right.
they had a way of having an open door policy of
Okay.
anyone that would want to hear about Christ and want to get saved and
Mhm.
wanted a hot meal or just
Mhm.
wanted to rest and wanted to talk. And so one of the extended families, which was an uncle,
Okay.
came, and I remember being introduced to him as an uncle, and that he was going to be so overwhelmed to, pleased to meet me because our birthday fell on the same day.
Okay.
And
Okay.
sure enough, he welcomed me with open arms. And I do know that prior to him coming and being introduced, this was the same uncle. Because see, I'm 12 now, and I'm observing and I'm listening. Even though I'm a silent, withdrawn child.
Right.
Don't say too much, but
Right.
I can hear. I'm listening,
Right.
and so
Right.
I've heard of this same uncle that had did time years ago in prison for
Mhm.
penetrating a baby, as my biological mother, I mean my adopted mother said, just like that. And
Oh.
he did years in prison. And so
Oh.
I knew this was the same one, but also I'm seeing this as I was told that God is the only judge. Once
Right.
man do time and
Right.
professes salvation and asks God for forgiveness, he's a new
Right.
creature. So
Right.
all of this is wrapped up into my mind, into my brain, that
Right.
before I know it, he has nowhere to live. And our house is the open door for him to, since he went and accepted Jesus as his Lord and Savior,
Right.
here's now the refuge house. And it wasn't not even a week that went by, he started showing me the
Oh.
grooming and the attention of love. Started with the kissing in the mouth, then it gradually went from one thing to another
Oh, wow.
for almost a year.
For almost a year.
Almost a year.
So okay, so you're withdrawn,
Yeah.
which is, of course, I can see that. And so you're not saying anything to your aunt or uncle.
No.
He certainly is not saying anything to your aunt or uncle.
What
And
he's saying is manipulating, because he's saying, "Oh, she'll be fine. We're just going to look at a Christian movie, or she loves this show, and I'll make sure she gets in bed. And I'll make sure she doesn't go to bed too late so that she'll be ready to go to school in the morning." They trusted that. That's what he was saying.
wow, and him being the adult, and them being believing the from the religious aspect. So, after a year, what happened? Did he leave? Did you tell?
It wasn't quite a year, but before the year was up, I believe, he met a lady.
Okay,
He met
a
some.
grown up.
Yes. Yes, a grown up.
Okay.
He met, as my adopted mother said, a worldly woman, which
Okay. Okay.
that she believes, and took him out of church. But so he met someone, and before I knew it, they left together and moved in together.
And did you ever tell your aunt or
No,
uncle? Oh,
I told my adopted mom, my adopted dad had died not knowing. I told
okay.
I told my adopted mom when I was grown and had kids of my own that I finally just I told her. Yeah.
Did she believe you at that time?
She believed me. Now what
Oh,
she said didn't help, but she believed me.
oh my goodness. What did she say if you don't mind
She
answering
said
that?
if she said if my dad knew it, he would have killed him. That was it.
Oh, okay. I know that sounds terrible that I'm
Yeah.
accepting that answer because I thought she was going to say something different that would,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
but truly you don't want to kill anyone, but
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
And God had allowed I guess her to say that for when I really reached out and I had to reach out to my first mental health therapist
Hmm.
with what my adopted mom said, what I wanted her to say, it came from my mental health therapist. And she said this one phrase I will never forget. She said, Kim, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And I broke
Yes,
down and I broke down.
yes,
Yeah, I broke
yes,
down. Mhm.
yes, most definitely.
Yeah.
That's extremely important. And so I was going to ask, women, and I'm not saying men don't have this either. I'm not saying men don't have this, but women have an innate sense, a gut feeling about their kids.
Hmm.
Ever
Hmm.
since I became a mom back in 1998, it's
Hmm.
like your life changes instantly. You're a
Right.
mom and you begin to have this sense about your child. You know who your child is.
Right.
You send your child out into a scenario and you're like, okay, this might happen.
Hmm.
I need to protect. Simply said, I have a 19-year-old son. He is a man. He's a big guy.
Hmm.
He wanted to go shoot some hoops at 6 a.m. this morning in a neighborhood that's unfamiliar to him. And, with some of the racial animus, I was like not comfortable with him going to do that like at 6 o'clock in the morning. He wants to up his exercise game, which is wonderful.
Right.
And
Right.
myself and his dad were like, yeah, no, let's not do that.
Right.
So we had an
So you
inkling,
talk about the protection mode. Yeah.
right, that this might happen. So I'm wondering, even all religion and forgiveness aside, you can still be a believer, but err on the side of caution. I would have never put
Yeah.
a young 12-year-old child like you in the path of a man who had went to prison, done time for pedophilia.
Right.
I mean, so they didn't have any innate sense that something might go on, or even if they let him in their home, I would have never left you alone with him.
Right.
Never
Right.
would you have been left alone. You would have been had some safety measures that I wouldn't have told him. Lock your door every night, I would tell you.
Right.
And even if it's from the other side, I'll come in every morning at 7 a.m. and unlock your door or whatever. I would have put some type of measures in there, even if I was erring on the side of my religion.
What she told me, what she did say, and that stuck in my mind because I say that to my kids. I got a 6-year-old now, but she did say to me, you don't sit in his lap. She did try to build up the measures, but she still opened the door. She still let him stay.
Open the door and let him live there. And so I am just bewildered by all of that. I will just say that, and you can't, I'm not judging, but that's just not a decision I would have made
I know,
for my
I know.
kids
And
because
I say, do I believe, like, I have to be truthful and very transparent. Do I believe they intentionally did that to
no,
cause me hurt or harm? No.
right,
I
no,
just believe, and I only can speak my honest truth, is that their faith in God did not, outweigh the protection that they should have had for me. You know what I
right,
mean? The love
right,
that you're supposed to love,
right,
everybody and not to be the judge. And,
right,
you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So,
right, right. Yeah, they could have kind of did both at the same time.
right.
But wow. Okay, so thank goodness though it was not your aunt or uncle that were the perpetrators. I thought maybe your biological family were the perpetrators. Not to say that it's was, okay in any measure, but I'm glad it wasn't them. But and I'm just like, wow, that's just so difficult to get through, just that act in and of itself. But I'm glad, some people last for years and years and years and years, and it's just unbelievable. But one act is enough
Yeah.
of such an act as that. So you're 12, this man is gone, you're growing up, so you're a teenager. And how are you feeling during your teenage years to the college years?
Confused. Confused
Confused.
about what love is, and the attention, the sensuality, the sexuality, just really confused. um
So
I
did you
found
act
now,
out?
as I had to relive my story, I did a lot of acting out by trying to feel that same type of attention, because I was wanted,
Yeah,
strangely, in a
yeah,
bad way, in a sick
yeah.
way. But it was, so, um, I got the first time I had sex, I got pregnant at 15, and it
Okay.
just continued to kind of spiral downhill. But what happened when they put that baby inside my arms, I always vowed that she would never feel, or any other kids that came out of me, the
Right.
disconnection or the not love from me. And that kind of backfired on me a lot sometimes, because I found out through my journey of trying to mask the pain, I overcompensated that
Yeah,
love. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
For them to.
I can see that. I can see that. And I did not grow up in that same type of situation, but my mother and I had a very challenging relationship. She has since passed, and she died way back in 1996. But I'm the youngest of three very much older siblings. And to me, she was not, or at least in my opinion, from my view, she was not as affectionate as I would have wanted her to be. She wanted me to be strong and she wanted me to be tough, which I got because, but loving a person and expressing love to a person does not make them weak. As a matter of fact, that makes them much, much stronger. And like you, I vowed when I had my children, I was like, my children are going to know that I love them. And we tell each other all the time that we love each other.
Right.
I try not to, I don't do an overcompensation of love, but I do want them to always know that I love them, and I always hug them, and that's something I didn't get growing up. I did not get hugs until I went off to college and ran into other parents of my college friends, and they were hugging families. And I was like, oh, I was kind of told that hugging and stuff like that was fake. I don't know
Mhm,
where that comes from. But it was like,
mhm,
oh, that stuff is fake. And I'm like, okay, but it sure does feel good and comforting.
mhm,
So,
mhm.
yeah, so everybody's family dynamics are so very different. But I came from a great family, but that was just the dynamics of our group. We didn't hug. I didn't start experiencing that until college, and I took that to my marriage and to my children. So I'm just so glad for that evolution myself.
Right.
So now, so you're growing up. You had your first child at 15. You were acting out for attention.
Mhm.
When did you first maybe was the baby your intervention, or was there a pivotal positive figure that was the intervention or aha moment? I guess the baby in your arms was an aha moment, let's say.
Yeah.
But what got you to a process of healing?
Mm, I would say repeated cycles, just not not really coming to grips and accepting me, and that I didn't need any validation from anyone. And I can be wanted and I can be not wanted, and I can still be okay,
Right.
you know,
Right.
because at one time, not going through the process, I wasn't okay if
Yeah.
I was told that I don't want you, or felt that you don't want me, or felt that I wasn't needed, or felt
Right.
that I couldn't help in any situation.
Right. 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 Right.
So I
Right.
had to go through years of anxiety and depression and just feeling like I'm just existing. Uh,
Yes.
that the flaws that was pointed out to me, that I didn't belong. I could
Mhm.
I took, my dad, you know, comments that would try to offset
Yeah.
the self-esteem that had never been built with
Right.
was little, because I was compared.
Right.
I was at 9 or 10, I was told, you don't look like us, but we still love you. You
Oh
might
my
have a bigger
goodness.
nose and you might have thick lips, but we still love you. So I started like hating, features on features on me. But then my dad would try to my adopted dad would try to offset that by saying, he would just feel my spirit, and he would say, Kimmy, he would say, you have a beautiful smile. The world needs to see your smile. Smile, Kimmy, smile. So I started adapting, just smiling all the time. And people, and because sometimes I look back at my pictures and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I was going through some of the toughest times of my life and looking, I'm smiling, but I could tell in my eyes that I was going through. But yeah, so I had to come to grips with that and accept that even with him trying to offset that, I had to learn to love me with
Right.
flaws, with everything that I went through, with everything that I experienced. I can't control no one else's behavior and actions that they had did towards me. And for years, I felt responsible. Some kind of way I felt responsible.
Yeah.
Even
I
through all
think
my, even through all my, I was told there wasn't failed marriages. There were marriages that did not work. He said, if you say they're failed, you didn't learn from them. But if you
right.
learned something from them, you said there were marriages that did not work. So I said the 4 marriages that did not work, I had to finally understand that
Right.
I had to accept my part, what I was
Yes.
responsible in, and not weigh my feelings or my emotions being responsible for other people's actions and how they treated me.
Right.
That
Correct.
was their choice. Even and
Correct.
so I had to go all the way back in writing this book to saying that was my mother's choice, my
Right.
biological mother's choice. I had nothing to do with that. Even
Right.
with her
Right.
not accepting me, I had nothing
Right.
to do with that. So I
Right.
cannot hold myself responsible for
Right.
her
Ex-
choice of what she done.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. That is exactly right. And a previous friend of mine, she was kind of like a coach, a coach of some sort. And so when she and I would talk on the phone and I would talk about different things, she's the first person that told me that what you just said, that is the other person's thoughts or responsibilities, or the way they're carrying themselves through, that has nothing to do with you. The
Mm-hmm.
way they feel about you has nothing to do, do with that. That's their thoughts. And that is so true. And it took me a while
It did.
for me
It
to
took me a
really
while too.
get what she was
Yes,
saying to
me
me.
too. Yes.
And it was like, oh my goodness, well, I can't. And then when you finally lock in on, that's on you.
It's
That's you.
almost
That's not
damn near detrimental when you don't get it, because I was so keen to justice, like, but this isn't freaking fair. Even down
yeah,
to I'm like, this wasn't fair. You know,
yeah,
what
yeah,
did I do? I mean, doing the best I can. I'm
yeah,
19, or and right is right, wrong is wrong. But I got to the point that I said, it's going to kill me if I don't get it. I'm
yes,
going to
exactly.
die either physically or
Yes,
mentally, and both of
yes,
them, I'm not willing to do that anymore. Exactly.
exactly,
Exactly. So I
exactly.
had to choose from unhealthy relationships, repeating cycles, me getting in relationships, feeling like, okay, I I just need to be in one. I
Yeah.
just need to be in one. I just need to feel that I'm wanted. I just
Right.
need to feel that someone loves me for
Right.
me.
Right. 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 Right.
I don't know hell about this person, but I need to feel it.
Right.
No, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, now I want to touch base real quick, and I know I'm going back to they were saying that you didn't look. Some of the family was saying you didn't look like them. You're talking about your biological mom and dad were
No,
saying.
no, my adopted parents. Yeah, not my adopted mother. Yeah,
Oh,
they were really their complexion was really light colored. I
okay.
was brown. I was really a brown child.
Right. Right. Right.
And yeah, so she was like, not intentionally, but letting me know, giving me these little talks when we're going out in public. People are nosy and ain't none of their business. You know how people is, what goes on in this house stays in this house. People is nosy, and you might not look like us, but you are, baby. You
Right.
belong to us.
Right. Oh, I see what she was saying. And she was right in doing that. She was right in doing that because I grew up with my niece. My sister, my older sister, remember I was saying my siblings are quite a bit older than I am. So but my older sister had a daughter, my niece, and we grew up like sisters. And she was of a lighter skin tone than my skin tone. And so, and again, this is that 70s era. So hopefully
Mm-hmm.
that some of this stuff has changed.
Right.
People would say that she was really pretty. And my mother would step up and say, and so is she.
Good.
And so
And
because my mother,
that is
my
my whole
mother,
and that is my whole point when I do
yes,
these lives, is let people know, what you speak out there, and how you build what you say in front of your children, and put that
right,
seed in. Don't
right,
think that it's not going to fester. Don't think that it's not going
mm,
to, stake root in it.
right,
That's why and I've constantly been changing. And as I go through the process, all my girls, they'll get text messages. Sometimes I'm like, hey, beautiful,
right,
now finally, going through the process, I
yeah,
I got from my godmom for the very first time. She was the one that
yes,
told me, and I'll never forget it. Matter of fact, I had wrote it down, the year. She
right,
said, you're smart and you're gorgeous. You're
yes,
beautiful.
yes,
I didn't
yes,
get it from my biological mother. I didn't
yes,
get it from my adopted mother, but I
yes,
got it.
yes,
Yeah. So,
yes, yes, I agree. And that's one thing I like. That's what's going on with among the Black diaspora is that we are all telling each other that we're beautiful, no matter what your hair looks like, or your skin complexion looks like, or your features look like. We're telling each other that we're beautiful and you look beautiful. And I love it because,
I
you
do
know,
too.
everybody deserves a little happiness. And believe it or not, people from other cultures tell me that I'm
Yes,
beautiful too.
yes,
So
yes.
I'm grateful for that. I think maybe just the whole society is opened up to what beauty is.
Right.
And it was from the push, I'm saying it was from the push of Black women to get that out there that we're beautiful. We started saying we're
Right.
Black girl magic, we're
Yes.
beautiful, we're awesome, and
Identifying our own. Exactly.
is
Yes.
like,
Yes.
oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah, you are. you quite are. So you went through 4 marriages to feel affection, and so once you would you get marry again? Would you get in another relationship?
I would, when the
Okay,
time is right. Yeah.
when the time is right. That's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
And you have how many kids now? You have 5 children.
I do. I have 4 adult children and 1 minor. She's 6. Ow!
You fell off the wagon right there. You fell off. You fell off. Well, what advice would you give the listeners today and viewers?
Accept your truth. Be transparent. I'm transparent at my best at this time. You were talking about your your I believe your biological mother died in
Yes.
96. My adopted mother just died yesterday.
Oh my
So,
goodness. Oh my goodness. I am so sorry to hear that. Oh my goodness. I was going to ask you earlier on, were any of these people alive? And I know you said your uncle had passed.
mhm. And my
Oh wow.
adopted dad had passed away in 97. He did get to see his grandson, the fourth out of the adult kids. That
Okay.
was supposed to stop, but he
Okay.
did get to see him at 6 weeks old. Never got
Oh
to see mine yet, but that's okay. But
yeah.
the mother, adopted mother, just passed yesterday. And if
Oh.
I had not wrote that book,
Oh
and if I had not accepted and embraced, I don't think mentally I would have been able to take the actions and behaviors of everyone of her death towards
yeah.
me. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. 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 And
It's
so
not easy. I still live in the hometown,
okay.
and my biological mother, she's a minister, and she still does not accept me. And she went by to see my adopted mom. I think my sister told me about 3 weeks ago. Her and my sister went to visit her.
Mhm.
But Deidre, I had COVID and like died last year and didn't see her. I still in my hometown.
Yeah.
And I had to accept that one of the hardest things to accept, that me being a mother, is that you're going to have to want either love is in you or love is not. And when it comes to me, it's not.
Wow.
And I don't think will ever be.
Right. Right.
So, not on my part. This is
Right.
where I got responsible for my actions. I
Right.
went to show her her granddaughter, to the last one of my, my mini, when she
Right.
was 3 years old, or going on 4 years old, in my hometown. Took her
Right.
over there to introduce her to her biological mother,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
left the door open for a relationship to start
Yes.
that never happened. So what I'm saying is, you said to some of the viewers that may be experiencing some of the same things. You can't buy love. You can't
No.
beg for love. You
No.
have to be able to accept yourself and love yourself to be able
Yeah.
to walk this journey,
Right.
because unexpected things will happen. And
Yes.
you can't be responsible for how anybody else treats you
Right.
or do to you. But what you
Right.
can be responsible for is how you react to them.
Most definitely. Most definitely. And just real quick, you did get therapy
Yes, I did.
at different and do you still get therapy?
Throughout my journey. Yeah, I'm going back to her after, because I got a second book I got to get out. But while I did the first one, I had and she didn't even know I was writing it, but it was
Right.
very therapeutic, because it was reliving my whole story, and times that I was asking her questions of how I felt. What was I crazy? And I was breaking
Yeah.
down and crying, and she said, "No, you're absolutely human." And I needed
Right.
to hear that. You
Wow.
have feelings. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm going to say it very, you brought this to my attention earlier on. I'm sorry all of this happened to you, but with you having 5 children of your own,
Yes.
you are loved and
Yeah.
you are a loving mother. So it seems from talking to you earlier and talking to you here, and you certainly have grown. It seems like just from our talk.
Yes.
And you come, as they used to say, you've come a mighty long way.
Yes,
And,
that's a
and I thank God
you
for it.
got it.
That's
Yes.
right. I thank
I
God
have.
for it, and I know
Yeah.
you do too.
Yes.
And I just really appreciate you telling myself and my listeners and viewers on YouTube your story. It takes a lot to be brave to write all this out, to live through this, and do all the things that you've done. And I just really appreciate the work you've done. And your story is certainly inspiring, and it's going to help somebody.
I appreciate it. And what I wanted to do is help somebody to be able to help somebody else, to
That's right.
have that
That's
courage
right.
and that brave. Because guess what, Deidre? Even though I had the courage and brave, I still wouldn't be able to take the rejection for having that courage and braveness to tell my story. and
Right.
to hold on to my truth, because
That's right.
that will happen. Everybody didn't receive my story. Everybody's not going to receive my story,
Right.
especially my family that I'm still
Yes.
living in the hometown. But I knew that that was my truth, and I knew that I had to be free.
Yes.
So
Yes.
when it
Most
first goes to
definitely.
you, when it first goes to you, of you choosing you, and finally,
Yes.
Deidre, it's a liberation for me to
Yes.
choose me, not
Yes.
wait for nobody to choose me, but I'm
Yes.
so worthy and deserving to choose me,
Yes.
to live
Yes.
a life that God intended.
Yes, most definitely. Most definitely. And what you're saying, and I will repeat this possibly at the end of all of my mental health series interviews, is the fact that even if your life's problems and trauma seem unsurmountable, if you carry the attitude that you have, you can proceed and heal and have a full and complete life.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Kimberly, thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Deidre. Thank you. Thank you for having the platform. Without you, I couldn't be here. But thank
Oh,
you.
wow.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Beautiful, my beautiful new sister. So
Yes.
thank you. Thank you for you being obedient and having this platform for me, because I, I say this many times, and I think as I, go through my journey with this minor and taking her to school and have build my support system first with God,
Yes.
and have my talk with him, connecting building my spirituality,
Yes.
because it takes work. And in anything that you do, it takes work. You got to put the work in. And
Okay.
so I thank God for every time that I'm able to be transparent and share, because I said, it's not about me at this
Right.
point. Even monetary, it's
Right.
not about me, because God will take care of me and mine. But
Yes.
at the same time, I want my journey to not be in vain. I want
Right.
everything that I experience
Yes.
just not go to void. I
Right.
had to go through it for
Right.
someone else to get through it, and to
Right.
say I can.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, definitely it's not in void at all. Kimberly, we appreciate you and I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the Bookaholic podcast. We appreciate your support. Remember to subscribe to the podcast, follow us on Instagram at True Bookaholic. You can also email us at readingjunkie@book-a-holic.com. Don't forget to support your local library and independent bookstores.